Welcome to Marty in the Door. I'm Marty, but the door is our Lord Jesus Christ. He said that's one of his names. I'm the door, and the sheep have to go through the door if they want to follow me. And so today we're going to go in the door of decisions, part 2. Last time we were together, I started a little book review on one of my most delightful books I've ever read, The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And this is a book that gives 7 major decisions that will determine your success. And it's not just one of these worldly success stories. This is principles taken out of the Bible. And so it's life-changing. It really is. This book is life-changing. And I just want to recap on last week. The main character of the story, David Ponder, got fired from his job that he had spent his lifetime working on, in losing everything, and then he wanted to take his life, and he ended up not dying, but running into a tree and going into some kind of a coma. And in that coma, he had all these dreams. But the dreams were distinct. They were different. They were dreams that God was giving him, taking him back in time traveling, back in time to meet face-to-face famous people and people of character that the world knows about, and the decisions that they made, and the truth that they learned. And so we've already discussed 3 of the historic characters that David met in his dreams. And when he goes into the dream, only that person who's been alerted by God knows he has a message to give him. And anyone else that would be in the dream can't see or hear or know that David is there. And again, I said this earlier, but I think it's just the way God is with us today. We can be in a room with a dozen people, and we're the only one who hears something God's saying to us, or the only one who sees something that God wants us to see. And so the dream is a powerful tool that is used in this author's writing. The first one we looked at was Harry Truman. And I've picked a little icon or a little thing to represent each one of these characters. And Harry Truman had the little spectacles on, and his word to David was, "The buck stops here. You're responsible for you. No one else is." And then we looked at King Solomon. And King Solomon's word was, "Seek for wisdom. Search for it. Find it. You have to work to find it. It's not just going to appear." And of course, we know that Solomon had a dream, and that he dreamed. And in the dream, he asked God for wisdom. And God had granted him the desire to search out and get wisdom. And then we looked at the third one, and it was Joshua Chamberlain, who was colonel of the Union men in Company 20 in Maine. And the victory that they won because this man's word was, "I'm a man of action, and I make decisions." And so my husband and I had been to Gettysburg and collected and brought this picture back. Now we're ready to look at the very next person that the author wants us to know about. And so David finds himself kind of dizzy, kind of nauseated, and opens his eyes to discover he's on a ship. He's on a ship in the Atlantic Ocean. And he sees a little man who grabs him by the cuff of his neck and starts leading him up to the top of the ship. And what they're doing is they're going up to the crow's nest, where he can look out over all of the water. And of course, David knows he's on a ship. He knows he's at the crow's nest, but he doesn't know who this man is and what's happening. And then he sees how this man is, seems to be the captain of the ship. And the man asks him, "What's your name?" And he says, "My name's David Ponder." And he says, "But who are you?" And the man said, "Well, my name is," and he tells him the name of the Portuguese name, and he says that his name, "and I'm the master of the Santa Maria." And David says, "You're Christopher Columbus." And he said, "Yes, that's my name, Christopher Columbus." And he said, "Well, why am I here? What's happening?" And he said, he said to Christopher Columbus, "Do you know where you are?" And Christopher Columbus said, "Of course I do." Well, he said, "I don't really know so much where I am as where I'm going." That's the question. That's the question you need to be asking. Where am I going? You know, we can just get caught up in staleness. I'm here, and this is where I am, and I'm not going anywhere. And he said, "Well, so where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to a new world." He had this passion in his heart, and he knew and he believed that he was going to find the new world. He said, "I want to establish a new trade, a route by sailing west. West is where I'm going." And he said, "Do you know that the world is a sphere?" And David said, "Well, yes." And he said, "Most people think it's flat. They think we're just going to sail out and go over the edge. But I know it's a sphere. I know it's round. And I know we're going to get someplace soon." And he said, "Well," David said, "but how can you feel this way when so many people, say no?" He said, I don't care what people think. I'm not interested in their opinions. It's better to be standing alone and standing in truth than following a gaggle of geese who are doomed to follow one another. And he said to David, "If you worry about what other people think, then you're going to have more confidence in their opinion than you have in your own. Poor is the man whose future depends on the opinions and the permission of other people." If you are afraid of criticism, you will die doing nothing. Listen, these truths are so powerful for us today. How many people do you see just following the crowd, doing whatever somebody else does, saying what somebody else says? No wisdom. Remember, Solomon said, "Search out wisdom." Find out the truth before you make a decision. Getting started, getting finished, both ends of the journey require passion, he said. Passion is what helps you when you have a great dream. Passion breeds conviction and turns mediocrity into excellence. Your passion will motivate others to join you in pursuit of your dream. With passion, you'll overcome insurmountable obstacles, and you will become unstoppable. David was taking in all this man was saying. He said, "Can you see the land? You're up here in the crow's nest that you're looking for?" "Yeah, I see it," he said. And David said, "I'm looking, but I don't see it." He said, "Look in my eyes, and you'll see it. It's in here. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm going to do. It's in here. I will hit land." And one of the ships came up beside Columbus, and they said, Our men have reached our limit. We can't go any further. We're going to have to turn back." And Columbus said, "I just see men that don't know what limits they have." And he said, "Sir, your officers and we want to turn back. We are at an end." And Columbus said, "Let me remind you that we have less than 10 days of food left with us and water. If we reverse, we've already gone so many days that we know for sure we'd die. But if we go on, we have a chance to find the land. I say we go on. We're not turning back. We will surely die if we turn back." Nothing was ever accomplished by a realistic person. It's accomplished by a person with faith. You will find a heart for success that you did not even know existed. And you will find a Juan Garson who's able to lead men to new worlds of their own. You'll find greatness. The man who had questioned the captain said, "Forgive me." And the captain said forgotten. And they went on. David asked the question, what do you mean, men without a heart? He said, I've written you something. I've been told to write something on a piece of paper for you. And this is what Columbus wrote. I have a decided heart. Most people fail at whatever they attempt because of an undecided heart. Should I? Should I not? Go forward? Go back? Success requires the emotional balance of a committed heart. When confronted with a challenge, the committed heart will search for a solution. The undecided heart searches for an escape. And again, the powerful words went into the pouch that David was carrying. And this is some more that Columbus wrote on his paper. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I have a decided heart. I will freely give my vision for the future to others, and as they see the belief in my eyes, they will follow me. Do you not know that's true? I will lay my head on my pillow at night, happily exhausted, knowing I've done everything within my power to move the mountains in my path. As I sleep, the same dream that dominates my waking hours will be with me in the dark. Yes, I have a dream. It's a great dream, and I'll never apologize for it. Neither will I ever let it go, because if I did, my life would be finished. I am not timid. I will move now, and I will not look back. I will not wait. I am passionate about my vision for the future. My course has been charted. My destiny is assured. I have a decided heart. So now we've seen what Truman said. The buck stops here. Solomon said you need to search for wisdom. Chamberlain said, don't look back, go on. He led the men into battle. Don't even consider looking back. And now Columbus says, I have a decided heart. And so we move on. The dreams continue. Suddenly, David is in a new place, and he finds himself in a room. It's kind of dingy, and it's old-fashioned, back from something back in the 40s. And this picture is an icon that I will tell you about just in a few minutes, but it's part of what's happening here in this room. There are two couples, 4, 3 children, 7 people in this room. They're quiet, and there's a knocking on the walls, and more knocking. The people are frozen in terror. They stand silent. More knocking. And then the knocking ceases, and one of the older men says, it's all right. We're okay. We're safe. And then David notices there's a young girl standing beside him, maybe about 12 years old, and she has a smile on her face. He's not sure what's happening in this place, but he sees it's like a place of hiding. And the young girl says, Papa, may I go upstairs? And he says, is it time for you to be alone again? And she said, yes. And she beckons David to come with her. As they get to they pull over a hatch cover to get into an attic. The attic is dirty. It's tiny. There's not a thing up there, just dust and dirt and one little window that's covered with so much dirt that you could barely see through it. And she said, isn't this exciting? And he's wondering, how could you even think anything about this is exciting? She said, I am excited to have you here. I've been told you were coming. He said, where am I? And the girl says, you're in Amsterdam. Let me show you the city. And she pulls him over as he peers out the window from the corner, not putting his full face up, but just from a corner, and he sees this huge clock. And he said, I heard your father call you Anne. And she said, yes, my name is Anne Frank. And he said, oh, I read about you. I read about you in the journals that you wrote, the diary that you wrote. I'm in the annex, aren't I? David said. Several rooms that were connected to the back of a warehouse is where they were. How long have you been here, Anne? 1 year and 4 months. Do you know today's date? October 28th, 1943, she said, because I've kept track. Well, how do you eat? How do you stay here? Well, my father's secretary, who works in the warehouse, brings us food. She moves the door behind the bookcase and brings us food. Well, who are those people that were knocking on the wall? Those are Nazi soldiers. My papa calls them Gestapo. They're dressed in black. And David can't help but notice her cheerfulness. And he asked another question. What is happening? She said, people are being taken away to camps. And they tell us that the Jews they're taking are comfortable and doing work, but we know it's not true. We've gotten codes on our postcards that say they're in deep trouble and much misery and suffering. He said, how can you be so happy? I don't understand. She said, I don't complain. My dad told me that complaining is the same as any other activity. It's the same as listening to the radio or jumping rope. It's an activity that you do. You can choose to complain. I choose not to complain. Do you know, Mr. Ponder, that our very lives are fashioned by our choices, the choices that we make? She said, gratefulness is a choice, and I've made a choice to be grateful. I see an annex that hides 8 people while others are being herded into railroad cars. I see food that is generously provided by my father's secretary. She's even using her ration card to help feed us. I choose to be grateful. I choose not to complain. David was amazed at the self-control this young woman had. Are you always in a good mood? Oh no, but if I find I'm not, I get in front of the mirror and I say, I choose to be happy, and I will laugh. Ha, ha, ha. And you know it, before I know it, I am happy, because happiness is a choice. It's a choice. My life, my personality, my habits, my speech is a combination of the books that I choose to read and the people I choose to listen to and the thoughts that I let enter my mind. She said, come with me. She opened a little closet door, this tiny little closet, and there she said, this is Margot and my room, and it had one mattress. But on the wall it had pictures that she'd pulled out of magazines, pictures of beautiful scenery, pictures of babies, pictures of movie stars, pictures of people, and she'd glued them on the wall behind her bed. And she said, these things make me happy because they're my future. I know I'm here now, but it won't last forever. David was amazed, and she said, I need to give you this paper, and you're to read it. And after you do, you'll be transported to the very next place that you're going. And he opened the paper, and it said, today I choose to be happy. And he tucked it into his little pouch. And then he moved on through the dream. He was suddenly found himself on another battlefield in a tent. And in this tent, he saw one desk set up and not much else in the tent. He knew that someone was coming. He lifted the tent flap and he saw a tall man with a big stovepipe hat on the top of his head. And he suddenly was aware, that's Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln has come here. And he began to talk to Abraham Lincoln, and Abraham Lincoln said that he was here today because he had to give a dedication to these people that were out there waiting. And he said, I'm here to talk to you about your future, David. And David said, I don't know what kind of a future I have. I'm at the worst time in my life. And Abraham Lincoln said, well, that makes 2 of us. I too. I have a son that died several months ago, and my another son is lying on the bed, on his deathbed right now. As you can imagine, Mrs. Lincoln didn't want me to come today. But why did you come? I came because out of duty. I knew I should come to this place. He said, you know, life is full of struggles. Life is full of trials. If you only knew the things that I've overcome, you would know that it's not unusual, it's something that happened to you. He said, do you know how many times that I have been insulted? People look at me and think of me as an old country boy and a lawyer that's unfit. I have so many newspaper columns that have been written about me, that I'm gawky, that I'm stupid, that I'm dishonest. All kinds of lies have been said about me. But you know, I've learned a secret. And the secret is a gift that you give yourself every day. And David looked at him and wondered, what kind of a gift are you talking about? And he said, son, the gift of forgiveness. Every single day, I say, today is a day that I will forgive. And David was thinking about it, and he said, well, I have so many people that have never once ever asked me to forgive them. Why should I forgive them when they don't even ask? And Abraham Lincoln said, you know, never in my life have I seen it in God's good word in the Bible that you have to wait for someone to ask. He said, if I forgive, I'm giving a gift to that person who doesn't deserve it, who didn't ask for it. But it will allow me then to be an effective father, a friend, a leader of this country. So yes, forgiveness is the secret that I have learned. It's the key to really living. It's hidden, but it's in plain sight too. It costs nothing, but it's worth millions. It's available to everyone and used by few. If you harness the power of forgiveness, you will be revered, sought after, and wealthy. David said, who should I forgive? And Abraham Lincoln said, everyone. Everyone. And he said, but there's one person that you've really needed to forgive for a long time, and you just haven't done it. And he said, who could that be? Who could I possibly need to forgive? You need to forgive you, David. You need to forgive you, because it will open up a whole new life for you. Forgiveness is a gift, but it must be given. It's a key to everything that your future holds. Forgive yourself and begin anew. He said, well, I've been told to give you this paper, and so I give you this. And David opened it, knowing what was in it. I will greet this day with a forgiving spirit. For too long, every ounce of forgiveness I owned was locked away, hidden from view, waiting for me to bestow its precious presence upon some worthy person. Alas, I found most people to be singularly unworthy of my valuable forgiveness, so I kept it to myself. Now for the forgiveness that I hoarded, it sprouted in me like a crippled seed yielding bitter fruit. No more. At this moment, my life has taken on new hope. I understand forgiveness has value only when it's given away. It's a gift. It's a gift. A gift has no cords or no strings attached to it. And now, David was whisked away to the very last of the 7 significant and important decisions that he would need to learn about. And he found himself in a huge, sort of celestial type building. It had everything. It had bikes, it had cars, it had wheelchairs. It was almost like a storeroom but every kind of thing possible. It even had prescriptions and answers to diseases. The room was filled with pictures, photographs. He saw one photograph and looked at it carefully, and a little boy and a little girl that looked almost like himself or like his children, but he didn't know them. And then suddenly he saw a huge man, and I chose the icon of the angel because this man was not a man, but he was an angel, and he seemed to be overseeing all that was happening in this building. And David looked at him and saw the wings behind him and recognized who he was. He said, you're an angel. And the angel said, actually an archangel. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know there was a difference. He said, that's okay. I'm Gabriel. And he said, well, whose picture is this? And he said, oh, those are beautiful children, aren't they? And he said, well, but these children, well, those are children that you thought about having. Those are children that you were pondering whether you should have them or not, but you never did. Oh, can I have them, the picture? Oh, no. You see, you're in a place that never was. These are all the things that never came to be, but they were here, and they were ready. They were ready for the person who would come for them. All men are driven by faith or fear, one or the other. Faith or fear is the expectation of an event that hasn't come to pass, or the belief in something that cannot be seen or touched. He said, I'm supposed to give you this paper. And David knew as he opened the paper, it was going to be something about don't give up. And it said, I will persist without exception. The angel wanted to impress on David that many people have many thoughts, many dreams, many hopes, but they never carry through. They never keep believing. They give up. Well, I've shared with you from this wonderful book, The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews, and I've saved for myself these 7 precious decisions that we need to be making all the time to truly live a fulfilled life. See you next time.